I think the strategy remains the same in that if you can, you just want to build the widest board possible as early as possible. And oftentimes you're at the mercy of your opening hands. So I would say if there's any strategy, it's in the mulligan. Maybe players have not been quite greedy enough with it. And I guess in the case of very niche situations, just trying to optimize their card draw, because we did have some questions about, say, Lambi series on this deck.
Very clearly as well, Glory and Alutemu, not especially noteworthy, but keeping the Sword of the Fallen against Druid, it's kind of something to keep an eye on, because Sword of the Fallen is the highest win rate card in most matchups, but it's still not like, it struggles to clear a lot of Druid's minions. It's not specifically targeted, it feels like, for this matchup, but I guess if anything that just shows the true power of the card, being able to thin your deck, get these disruption cards in play, and activate the commander at the same time.
And it's nice to draw this distinction because just finding the sword skyrockets your win rate as Paladin. In the case of Druid, just finding fungal perhaps isn't enough, but it so happens to line up for Shaxy here that he's found the combination of cards. Unfortunate to discard a minion, but it's okay. He still gets Innervate Glowfly for 5 to 6 Glowflies, very likely 6, and can follow that up with Arbor Up, which is exactly the way you beat Paladin and pretty much every other deck.
Okay, interesting. I do like starting off here with, first day at school, as he gets a very nice minion in the Blackjack Stunner. I think you're probably following up with Northwatch Commander, but I like sacrificing a potential extra bounce of Penflinger for the flexibility, because if you got premium one-drops, like, I don't know, say double Flame Imp or something if you want to go crazy, then it might have been worth going wider on the board on that turn, just so he has a higher trading capability. But with this line, I think it's very well sequenced from Glory.
And you can see Glory's reaction, I believe, from the secret that he pulled. I'm looking at the deck tracker, and it appears he has not gotten Oh My Yogg despite him running 2 copies, which is huge because Shaxy gets full information now on what 2 secrets those are, and he knows he's completely safe to go for the Glowfly. And this one turn of a difference is going to be backbreaking for Glory. Just funny that I said very likely 6 Glowflies, but he did just draw the other Gibberling here, so it's only 5. Glory not really offered any efficient way of trading here, so he's just going to go ahead and play out the Aldor Truthseeker, make sure that the Libram train starts rolling, and I expect that the Blackjack Stunner is going to come into play next turn, because not necessarily all of these secrets will be active for Shaxy. The Galloping Savior likely to stay intact, and then Glory can bounce, I don't know, just a Treant.
The really big thing, though, is that for the first time, we actually have a board for the Druid. He can capitalize on this. The question is, how? Because obviously there's an Oh My Yogg in play for sure. And so Arbor Up seems a little dubious here. Lunar Eclipse is not going to get the discount, though. It's just going to be straight up 2 mana spent on this turn. And so going Gibberling Luna plus Power of the World is like the most stuff that you can put on board on this turn, I suppose.
Yeah, I am on board for that as well. And even if one Lunar doesn't go off, he can play the other Lunar and then Power of the Wild.
Slips away.
Interesting that he chooses to proc the Oh My Yogg with the Power of the Wild instead, though. That doesn't work, does it?
It does not work, you are correct. There's some weird interactions with hero power, like if you have...
Warlock, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hunter.
But it does not work with...
Glory's reaction made me think it did something absurd there. In any case, though, the Oh My Yogg was quite annoying indeed for Shaxy. So Glory now can remove 3 of these, including the Blackjack Stunner.
Oh, this Carrier is just so good as well. Like, discounting these Librams is so huge. You can go Libram of Hope next turn. Even Libram of Justice, in order to clear off the board if a wide board is generated again. It's so sick.
Does he even trade? Maybe not. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I mean, what It was a match in Ironforge where I saw a 14-14 Edwin go into a treant or something like that. If that play is justified, then I guess this trade is as well, no matter how much it hurts me to see. Shaxy knows now there's no more Oh My Yogg, so he is free to start building this board. Glory picked it apart very efficiently though, so Shaxy is certainly playing from behind.
And it's a decent board that's been made here. If it can stick around, then Shaxy is looking to be in a great spot. But, I mean, I'm just seeing what... You
trade Libram of Hope, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like, Libram of Justice was tempting on that turn because you can get, you know, with the Blackjack Stunner in play story, still a decent amount of trades on the board. But just what do they do against this? The Divine Shield alone is so disruptive.
Yeah. And so for Shaxy here, it feels like a hero power is warranted to rip the Divine Shield from the 8/8, but my goodness, that does not feel good. Alternatively, Infestation, 1-drop, and then Arbor up, and you just don't touch the 8/8 Divine Shield. You accept that it's going to kill off one of your 6 attack minions.
Herein, however, lies the downside of leaving up even just 3 minions on the board. Already another huge board has been generated. If this sticks around, Soul of the Forest can follow up for a very threatening board presence as well. It is anyone's game at this point.
It's really tough to parse because Shaxy has a line where he just doesn't trade at all here because of the Soul of the Forest you were talking about. But if Glory doesn't take the bait and just goes all face, then the Soul of the Forest might accomplish very little over the course of 2 turns. However, Glory, because he has another Libram of Justice, I think is free to just trade and play that. Okay, looks like it's going to be Flingers plus Justice instead. I meant Hope, the first one I said.
Right, yeah. I mean, the Libram of Hope was honestly kind of tempting, quite a funny line, actually, that I haven't seen before, just ignoring a massive Druid board in Token Druid and just punching them in the face. But, like, just look at how clean this is. Again, yeah. Glory realizing same as Alutemu, you just don't need to clear off the minions, bounce back the pen flingers. They just sit on board, Druid can't answer them, and Glory getting a big win there after things were looking a little dicey in the middle there. But again, Give Plays is the only player powerful enough to win with this Druid. Everyone else is falling by the wayside.
Certainly feels like it. And again, I see all these playouts of Paladin versus Druid that make me think, oh, surely Druid has this, right? Paladin can't deal with their board, but the power of Oh My Yogg is just insane there. How long it disrupted Shaxy from being able to build that board, which then gave Glory the time to play 8/8s and very easily have the flexibility to clear those boards from that point onward, seemed unstoppable as well. And I don't know if I can just chalk the inflated win rate of Paladin in this matchup on ladder up to people being ignorant of secrets. A lot of the time, you simply don't have the flexibility to play around Oh My Yogg, and that's exactly what happened to Shaxy here.
Nicely done there indeed for Glory. Shaxy, I think, might have a little bit of a better chance against some of the other matchups. It does feel especially poor against Paladin, just because, as you said, there's a development and the disruption of Oh My Yogg. You have to just kind of close your eyes as Druid and hope that whatever you're doing is good enough to get there. I do kind of feel like the Priest maybe isn't quite as good against Druid as we may initially expect, because they can struggle against the likes of Soul of the Forest, or 1, maybe even 2 Pride's Glories to buff up the board. The Secret Rogue in its own right, honestly, I don't really know how that's going to function other than kind of just generically good rogue minions that you're playing, because you know, you don't have the same burst which you're relying on to close out the game a lot of the time, but those watch posts can actually be pretty annoying for Druid to deal with.
Right, I believe the far watch post, if it comes down turn 2, that's such a nightmare for Druid because they rely so much on additional card draw from Fungal Fortunes, etc. And as far watch post works, it's not just the cards you draw at the start of the turn that are made more expensive, it's just any draw effect and cards you get off of that. And even a single mana more, or a single mana of less flexibility for Druid can completely ruin their game plan.
We're seeing the same list for Glory as we did for Alu Temu, which you're going to see a lot of here in APAC Grandmasters. They have been staunch practice partners for a very long time. I haven't taken a look at Possessi's list because he didn't make it onto camera this week, onto stream, sorry, but I imagine it's very, very similar, at least with all the Japanese players tending to come up with similar strategies week after week in GM. But there we see the no Malagos build, Ysera, obviously the very powerful combo of Blade Master Samuro plus Apotheosis to heal up for huge amounts of damage in one fell swoop, and the new absolutely busted card of Zyrella, which I don't know, it's one of those cards that I'm actually just kind of a fan of. It just feels good to play, even if it's fairly oppressive to play against if you're going for any kind of a board focus strategy. It's just a cool card, and one that I'm sure we will see working great effect against Shaxy's tempo focused lineup.
I do love the design on her as well, and it really says something about the power of Zyrella and Samuro when people feel comfortable cutting Soul Mirror, which was hailed as one of the most bonkers priest cards of the previous meta. And now we get to see Glory strut his stuff on this priest up against Druid, but I think you brought up a really good point that maybe we have been overestimating the priest in this matchup, because Druid certainly has more time to adjust their game plan compared to against Paladin, where we saw the 8/8s make Shaxy concede and waste absolutely no time getting back into the next game.
And Gia, Shaxy just threw away both copies of Glowfly on the coin there. What is your take on that mulligan there, as that feels like one of the premium cards to find to me?
Well, it certainly seems strange at first, but I think about its interaction with Condemn and pairing that with our hypothesis earlier that Druid in this matchup hardly will ever just play the Glowflies and call it a day. They want to play Glowfly plus Lightning Bloom into Soul of the Forest, something like that. Maybe Shaxy is prioritizing finding Fungal Fortunes instead. Still feels weird, but it kind of harkens back to the old Spell Druid versus, was it Questlock matchup that we had seen quite a bit of in APAC last year.
That feels so like an age ago already. I mean, as it was in a way. But Shaxy here with a couple of interesting opportunities. Obviously, it could have been as early as turn 1 Gibberling, and then just try and follow up with Bloom out, Arbor up a few turns later. But it looks like he's trying to get the full suite of Gibberling, Coin, Bloom, Arbor up all in one fell swoop, which makes a good amount of sense to me. It's a very threatening board he's developing.
I think it is absolutely worth the one turn wait to get the additional Gibberlings out of this deal. And the single Scorpid is certainly looking quite sad for Glory here. He will be going into 4 mana, and so the Condemns are only Arcane Explosions at the moment. Just a little bit short of being able to pick this up. Oh, wait a minute. I thought this was Arbor up. I am a bit surprised here, but this still looks quite powerful if it's Pride's Fury.
Yeah, I mean, he gets the same amount of extra minions on board, right? Because he plays an extra spell and gets the extra 1/1 Marsul Cub with this line, so he's still buffing the same amount of minions. It does mean that Arbor Up comes down a lot later, but I kind of actually like this line the more I look at it, because Arbor Up, again, does not offer that much defensive capability. It offers offensive capability, which you want to do afterwards when your board can attack on the same turn. So I think it's actually a very smart deviation from Shaxy.
My concern is the Scorpid and how it lines up here, because Scorpid is very likely to take down a 2/4 or a 1/1, in which case the way you clear it next turn is either going to have to take your hero power or another trade. So I still kind of favored the Arbor up for a bit more attack potential. And also, knowing that this turn the Condemns are still rather small, I think everything being at 2 or 3 health was okay, because it's only exactly double Condemn, which, okay, Glory happens to have. That would clear the Gibberlings.
But then you have to think about next turn as well, because he would be able to attack for a good amount of damage, admittedly, like, what, 16, maybe even 20 damage on the follow. Oh no, there'd be 3 attack each, so a decent amount of damage at the very least. But you can't buff again on turn 4, and then the Condemns would clear your board, because you only have a bunch of 2 health minions in play. And so I think, on average, this does actually just give you a little bit more survivability, and again, I do still like this line.
Definitely see your point. Against Glory's hand, this certainly rewards Shaxy quite a bit, because now the Condemns, well, it's going to have to take both of them. to deal with all of this. I could see a world where Glory just plays one, especially now he has Holy Smite. He can just condemn and one Holy Smite, leave a single Gibberling up, or a Marsul Cub if he prefers to leave the cute one up.
I mean, you could go both, right? With this line of going for palm readings and then condemn double Holy Smite if he wants to.
Oh, yeah.
Uses up a lot of resources, admittedly, but you still have another condemn. That's the card. It's what you're looking for always in this matchup.
Only thing he really needs is minion development. The Raise Dead gives him a single Scorpion at the moment, which feels lacking, but if he doesn't expect Shaxy to immediately refill with something like Glowfly Swarm, might be enough to tide him over.
Doesn't want to start off with
Shaxy.
nature studies, and I kind of like the look of that actually, just to open up your options. I guess that you can bank the mana on later turns, but I don't see that coming up too often.
I think Shaxy is just reading this hand as a curve. It's the Arbor Up this turn into Arbor Up, and then Nature Studies, and then by that point, Soul of the Forest, Pride's Fury is 7 mana total.
That's
so.
true.
It's a way to look at it, but I honestly did favor the flexibility a bit more, because if you hit Fungal Fortunes or Glowfly, suddenly the Arbor Ups are doing a lot more work.
Well, pretty good plays coming through here for Glory. His rally is actually looking like a pretty good play at this point, with getting back another Scorpion and a Wand Maker, but it's not like Shaxy is slowing down whatsoever on the other side.
Yeah, the Gibberling now, I think, means that you just give up on the curve I was talking about. You take the more stats right now and go for the Arbor Up. And I think you take Guidance here.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't see any strong argument for these other ones. Overgrowth is far too late to get anything strong done, and the Mark of the Wild is just not very much stats.
It's more stats than it was, admittedly, at +2, +3, however.
Oh, okay. Still gotta be Arbor Up, right? Wow, Shaxy is very conservative about how he uses his attack power. Like you were saying a while ago, and I'm coming around more to that argument now, that the Arbor Up preemptively was not that valuable because you didn't get the attack immediately, but here he has 2 minions that can attack.
Yeah, and the Scorpion will get like double trades now. I guess they when the attack goes back up, they won't be able to take out the big minions so easily. But yeah, that was a little surprising.
The floated mana irks me, but I guess if you're going to go for Soul of the Forest, then the Mark of the Wild as a pick makes sense to just fill in the mana the next turn. But this is extremely patient from Shaxy, and maybe it's just a nod to the fact that Samuro Apotheosis is a thing now.
Love the pick of Deathwing as well there. I think that shows good recognition that in this instance, a second Ysera, just not really needed. And even if you end up discarding your whole hand with Deathwing, more than good enough, and will probably just win you the game when it comes down.
Glory with the Condemn into Holy Nova. Shaxy, you can see from his expression, the cat. It's just the tail wiping right to left on his screen. Oh man. I couldn't have timed it any better.
It makes it all worth it. This is what I do it all for.
Truly. Hysteria into Rally gives Glory a Scorpion and a Wand Maker, and only has to contend with either a 3-3 or a 4-3.
Yeah, it's just a very, very clean game from Glory. And then at the end, even if there is another big development, if we see, Fungal into Glowfly here or some other miraculous way, look, a turn like this, it's a very impressive board development for this point in the game. Still, it is not going to be enough. He banks the mana from Deathwing. He's going to slam that bad boy down and probably just run away with the victory then.
Glory looks like he's about to take another win over Shaxy, and even with the cat's power, it's just not enough to overtake the world champion. And you can see here from Glory the difference that the dragons make. Obviously, the most dangerous turns have passed, where Glory has picked apart the widest boards. But sometimes Priest in the past has run into this problem that, yes, I've had the AoE, but after that, am I killing them? not for a very long time. And in those windows, Druid can sometimes draw Fungal Fortunes and hit their other Glowfly Swarm, and suddenly the Priest feels that their AoE and card draw was not enough. Now that there's Ysera and the Deathwing, Glory has the way to close out the game.
Yeah, and he doesn't even need to go Deathwing. Like I kind of mistook the Mark of the Wild for another Thorn Growth because the colors on those are like exactly
It's true.
But yeah, Dream plus the Nightmare here, full clear, massive body on the board, and even if Ysera Awakens is not enough, even if the Emerald Drake Laughing Sister are not enough, he still has Deathwing the Destroyer to follow up to clear that one final board from Shaxy. This is over.
He had the Dream, the Nightmare, and the Deathwing as the Sleep Paralysis Demon for the full suite. Okay, Cenarian War, does that ever do anything?
Is Terralion even in the game anymore?
No.
Yeah, like, it would have to be that. And that is about as bad as it's going to get. Glory giving a chuckle, good-humoured as always. And as he should be, 2-0 up in this series. Priest down, Paladin down, only needing to get a win with that Rogue. The very signature Rogue that we're getting from both the Japanese players left in the tournament at this point in Alutemu and Glory. Watchpost and Secret jammed together to make this weird kind of amalgam of Rogue that so far, as ragtag as it is, has been working very well.
It's true. We haven't had to see all that many games of it. The sample size is quite low because they've just been winning so much. I mean, I'm probably doing something wrong because I often feel like I run into these clunky hands where you run into either half of the synergies you're trying to get. Like, you have the Hanar but no secrets, or you have the Watch Post but no Kargal to follow it up, or you got the Kargal and you haven't played enough Watch Posts. And that often makes me feel like I should just be playing a different version of the Rogue, but of course, including both those packages means you can be doubly oppressive against Paladin. You can have a bit more flexibility in other matchups, but it all really depends on how consistent you think you can get it, and that's why the mulligan, I feel, is one of the most interesting parts of playing such a Rogue.
And I mean, I think we just need to give a moment to respect the power of Scorpid. Like, in chat, let's stop with exclamation mark drops for 1 second. Let's get exclamation mark Scorpid going, because this card has just been absolutely disgusting every time we've seen it. I just completely glazed over it, given that it's one of those neutral cards, not a legendary, not usually, most of the time, unless they're obviously an insanely powerful one-drop or whatever. You just kind of look over most of those neutral cards because they're usually not that powerful. But clearly, in the most recent expansions, the design philosophy has been changing because we are getting some powerhouses in terms of the neutral cards, and that Scorpid definitely chief among them. But here it is in all its glory: the Secret plus Watchpost Rogue with Kargal Battle Scar at the end. It's obviously got a very robust win condition. This version of the deck: Kargal, Jandis, Kazakus, and Mankrik. Many big, juicy minions that can be thrown down in the mid game. In addition to obviously all the disruption that come from both the Watchposts and the Secrets.
And I really want to pay special attention to this deck that both Glory and Alutemu have brought, because I guess in most other cases, they would be the trendsetters for the APAC meta a lot of the time. I think as a pair and as practice partners, they are the most winningest of any region if you just look at them as a collective. And honestly, these days, I'm not even necessarily including Possessi in that group, because for this week at least, Possessi has the same archetypes, but he does have very different builds. The Rogue does not have the secret package for Possessi, and his priest build is also quite different with the Cthulhu at the top end there. So it often feels like Glory and Alutemu are just a couple steps ahead of everybody else. And if there was not going to be a set of nerfs dropping next week, then I would expect APAC to maybe follow suit and try out these different types of rogues.
Okay, I am already imagining a remake of Mean Girls, but with the Japanese Grandmasters recast as all the characters. Glory is just with all the cliques back and forth, you know, like Possessi's out, he can't sit with us anymore. You can't play secrets in your Rogue. Stop trying to make that a thing, you know. Yeah, I think it could be a real hit. I'll get on it.
How is Glory not Rachel McAdams in that situation, though? He's the world champion.
I mean, you're stretching my knowledge to its limits. I've seen the movie maybe twice, Gia, here, okay? I was trying to be hip and with it, but my references only go so far.
I can't believe there is some facet of pop culture that I know a bit more about than you. Because it really feels to me that your brain works on pop culture references and memes the way a calculator works on math, you know?
Or the way a normal person works on normal things that actually enrich your life or lead to success. Yeah. Too true. Well, either way, jumping into the potentially final game of the series. I'm kind of letting my bias get ahead of myself there as I'm just saying, yeah, that's it. We'll leave. And well, I mean, what do you expect, really? This is Glory. He's kind of laughing at how lucky he's getting out of the gate already with double watch post Spark Joy cheat out the gate. It's disgusting, and he knows it.
I was talking about how sometimes you draw the wrong two halves of the two kind of directions that this rogue deck is taking. Sometimes you draw the best of both worlds. This curve, watch post into watch post. Okay, nobody has minions that can attack, sure. Glory then plays Spark Joy cheat, which gives him a drawn card and puts a secret into play that draws him even more cards, so he's not got a value problem. And Shaxy is just, I don't know, I'm glad he has a cat to comfort him.
Yeah, and this is an interaction that was fixed recently. Because Secret Passage does not draw you cards, it adds them to your hand. The cost is not increased by Far Watch Post. It's kind of one of the few ways as Rogue that you have to surpass the devastating, or just the oppression that Far Watch Post applies to your game plan. Doesn't get an especially good hand out of it, though, to be honest. I guess you just go with Cult Neophyte, because if you're lucky, that will lead you with the ability to trade one of them off.
Yes, I think so too. And that Secret Passage that early certainly looks weird at first glance because Shaxy had very little mana to work with, but I think he realizes the situation is bad enough with double watch posts and the fact that he only played one and cannot trade either of them down, that he needed to find prize plunder or bust in that situation. He didn't hit it. At least he hit a playable minion, but the bad news is here that Glory also has a strong follow-up to the two watch posts.
I mean, admittedly here, Shaxy's hand is not as bad as this looks. When you're facing down double watch post, often like your whole hand just becomes unplayable and you can kind of give up at that point.
True.
Kazakus into 5-cost Golem. If he can get Rush here, as we see, into Copy or deal 3 damage to 2 enemy minions, you know, this is salvageable for sure.
True. The Kazakus really makes this a lot more workable. I am really not looking at the draw here because the watch posts are still in play. The deal 3 feels awkward because you're going to be rushing into one of them anyway. So Wildvine comes to mind just above Kazakus, essentially, because the watch post buffs on that hardly matter. Looking at the secrets that Glory is running, though, there is a Bamboozle in here, at least one. Yeah, 1 Bamboozle, 2 Ambush, 2 Dirty Tricks, and Shaxy at that point knew it was not Ambush because he played Kazakus, so he's not going to bother trading into the Spark Joy cheat. Probably watched the Tyler series yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, preemptively trading into the watch post was something I was kind of interested in, like... I suppose if you give them a 5-drop, it's pretty bad, but it's likely that it will then die to the 3 damage that comes from the Greater Golem, assuming that he picked deal 3 damage to 2 enemy minions off the Greater Golem, which I hope he did, is probably the best option you have there.
Glory going for maximum tempo here. Normally you wouldn't necessarily want to bounce a Cult Neophyte, especially when your Blackjacks cost 2 apiece, but because Glory's hand has just been so expensified by the other watch post, it's just looking like he wants the clearest board possible going into his own Kazakus turn.
Oh, he picked give your minions +2/+2. That is the worst Golem I have seen in a very long time.
I don't blame him for it though, because it would have been awkward for Glory to get rid of Kazakus had it not been for the Blackjack Stunner.
Well, Glory got summon a copy, which, I mean, the vast majority of the time is the option that I pick on 5 mana.
There's a world where you take the deal 3 also, because he's not immediately killing off this 5/4. I wouldn't go so far as to telegraph that it's deal 3 by preemptively trading one Blackjack, because it's likely that this 5/4 goes into a watch post next turn anyway, so I quite like the idea of the deal 3.
Okay, interesting, fair enough.
Ooh, is he bouncing this right now?
Saying, you know what,
Oh,
if you want to play a
man.
6-mana 5/5 rush, go ahead, my friend. That sounds bloomin' awful.
I mean, this is maximum tempo every single turn for Glory, but I'm concerned about his long-term value prospects because he's dealt a grand total of 1 damage to face so far. Yes, he has Wicked Stab in hand and Mancrick, but is it going to be enough? Shaxy also knows now that this is dirty tricks because he didn't attack the watch post last turn, I think, to respect Bamboozle a bit better.
Yeah, Shaxy's hand right now, it's Red Sky at Night, Shepherd's Delight, because this is all red cards, nothing that you can really play to swing back board here.
There's a setup turn available if he wants to Octobot and Guardian it, for example. And then next turn he can start doing some better things. Not take note, I did not say good things, just better things.
Yeah, and like I do think it's fair to say that for Shaxy, having +2/+2 here is obviously about as bad as it could possibly be. But I think it was so ambitious to go for +2/+2 that I think he should have just taken the 3 damage to 2 enemy minions. Like, even if it doesn't clear off the watch posts, it brings them down to 1. 10 Flinger, Orc Merchant can then take them out. It's at least something proactive that doesn't mean you have to be ahead on board, which he's clearly not going to be.
Agreed. It's so strange to me, though, that Glory has taken more damage than Shaxy in the grand scheme of things. I'd play Jandas for 7 mana. That still seems strong.
Yeah, get a good look at this, because that is just what it's going to cost, probably.
Oh my god, especially when you get the Burning Blade Acolyte. Yeah, Team 5, wink, wink. I think I know what's going on with the nerf next week, wink, wink. Oh, but this is a pretty good golem for Glory. I'm sure he's kind of wishing he still had a Blackjack Center, not to say that it was wrong to use it the way he did last turn, but this is kind of the problem I was alleging with his line, which is the card draw seems a little bit short. The Swindle helps a bit, but...
I mean, he's had Dirty Tricks in play for like the entire game at this point. Eventually, Shaxy is going to have to proc that, right? And then that fixes a lot of his problems.
Fair, and the second he gets Kargal, it's pretty much lights out. I think efficient is deficient here. What even do? I think you still have to Octobot.
Man, these Octobots are like the computers you had in school when you were a kid that were running like Windows 95 and just... if you tried to print something out, they'd just explode.
Printing has never worked once in my life, Derek. So he goes Octobot, 10 Flinger. Oh, he's just playing them straight up. Are you serious? Okay. I mean, one of them is already guaranteed to die without being frenzied. Oh, yeah. Sure, there's a ton in the way. Maybe this was genius, but more likely it's madness.
Yeah, I kind of like the look of just jamming Secret Passage right at the start. Prize Plunder is going to be a little bit difficult to make it do anything that important here. Let's just get a new hand, try and find Jandas and close this one out.
Oh, Kargal, that's 3 5/5s now. And I think that's certainly what Glory's going to go for. Maybe this double Octobot play from Shaxy was just genius. He gets to reset the debuffs on his hand.
Okay, great. He gets to go back to cards costing what they should. Oh my goodness, what a good spot he's in.
Yeah, there's got to be something good here, right? There's Prize Plunder with the Shadow Step, so I'm earmarking 2 of these 5/5s as already dead, but I don't know what things cost right now. My brain is not working that fast.
I mean, even getting the Prize Plunder up to 5 cards played without using the Shadow Step first is pretty difficult here, even with the mana reduction from the Octobots.
Is he not proccing this by attacking the watch posts?
I think his thought process might be to use it to attack into one of the 5/5s and deal 4 with the Prize Plunderer.
But then you could just Penflinger the 5/5 in that case. Or maybe there's some board space issue I haven't considered here.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, there's really no time at this point.
Yeah, you just gotta go.
And certainly you would want to proc the other Octobot, right? Before doing this stuff. This turn is just a whole bunch of question marks for me.
Oi, oi, oi. This one is very rapidly falling apart, as that was the big push here for Shaxy. His only real chance, I think, to swing this one back around.
Just don't know what happened with the second Octobot. I mean, he played them preemptively, very bravely, to go for this best possible outcome of proccing them without having to use a spell.
Oh,
and he just goes for not proccing dirty tricks at all, but is that worth it?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, the obvious thing is that he thinks that this is bamboozle, which is why he didn't want to attack in...
the second secret.
Yeah, because he hasn't played a spell and he hasn't attacked into a minion in ages, right? Is that right? I kind of feel like he actually knew it wasn't right after attacking him with the Kazakus Golem.
I know, I mean, I have to go back and check. I didn't even notice when the second secret was played, but anyway... This is all in the past now. Glory has the ability to just trade over without giving the frenzy. He is very solidly ahead on board here. Only has this 2-1 to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely didn't play the Shadow Step in that instance, I think, in order to not proc dirty tricks and try and starve Glory of some cards at the very least. But it doesn't matter whether Glory has cards or not. He's just winning this game.
Does Shaxy have some type of Wicked Stab out if he just stab, swindle, dagger, and then if you hit another stab this turn?
Why, it costs 4. Like, you just don't have mana.
Next turn. Oh,
yeah.
He's not necessarily dead. So he has to play a spell at this point. It's just non-negotiable. He has no win condition if he doesn't. And I believe because he's going to play a spell and give Glory resources, the only plausible win condition is to send it right there to the dome.
Agreed.
Quickly.
Oh man, the 5-cost field contact and prize plunderer. It feels like everything got nerfed like Gadget-san did.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of appropriate to see all these rogue cards costing what they should in a fair world at 2 mana more than what they currently do, but yeah.
Glory looking for an immediate lethal opportunity. I could see that if there's Fireball, perhaps. Apex's Blast.
It's another 11 from hand, plus the dagger as well.
Just a bit short, I think.
Really? Okay. Is it? He has 2 5-attack minions on board, right?
I think only one at this point.
Oh, only one. Okay.
I could be wrong.
Bad. My bad. Well, we'll see when we see. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it is a bit short.
Give me that. Not what I want.
Glory's still a bit nervous, though, because of the other Wicked Stab. And, I mean, if Glory can search for one Thief Lethal, then Shaxy can do the same.
I think
but he'll have that consolation of the expensive-ifiedness.
Yeah, like, even if there is the exact perfect hand of, like, field contact, pen flinger, and then you draw Wicked Stab, like, you've spent literally all your mana at that point. You spent more than all your mana at that point with the way all these cards are so expensive. Like, there's just no way to deliver lethal here. Even if the cards were there, the mana isn't. And that is our second 3-0 of the day. Glory. It's the first time we've seen him play so far this season of Grandmasters after his World Championship win last year. And he made it look easy. He's laughing at how well it went for him. That was better than good.
It was insane. It was an extremely fast series to kind of balance out the long and grindy 5-game series that we had yesterday. It's the second sweep of the day, and I truly wonder if it will be followed by yet another sweep in the last series of the day, although I get the feeling that it won't. Just want to say extremely well played to Glory. I didn't see anything that I disagreed with that entire series.
Yeah, he just knows the matchups inside and out. I think, you know, the Rogue, he was just doing Rogue things for the most part. It wasn't especially complicated, I will say, just good basic understanding. I think him and Alutemu have both, I would imagine, worked on a specific strategy against Druid that would be the main deck against which you have to alter your win condition or your playing strategy of how you want to counteract their large boards, because, I mean, he just made it look easy. Again, just taking apart the token druids time after time. As Shaxy, you know, it wasn't even the token druid that was the weak point. It was everything. He was just behind right from the get-go in the Rogue mirror. And he will unfortunately be leaving Grandmasters for this week. We will, of course, see